Lately, on my lunch breaks at work, I've been reading a book. It's called Truth in Translation, Accuracy and Bias in English Translation of the New Testament by Jason Badun. And a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses are probably really familiar with this book because, from what I hear, he commends the New World Translation very highly. And I haven't gotten very far in the book. I think I'm at page 25. But I wanted to read an interesting portion of this book because I couldn't help myself, but I noticed the appendix was titled The Use of Jehovah in the New World Translation. I couldn't resist. So I checked it out, and Jason Badun comes to some interesting conclusions in light of what he said about accuracy and bias in Bible translations, especially after speaking so highly of the New World Translation. And it's not my intention to get into whether or not the divine name was in the original writings of the Christian Greek scriptures. Although I don't think it was, that's not my real intent of this video. Plus, I don't want to open too many cans of worms more than I already have. So, what can I say? Alright, let me read this portion. It's on page 173, and it says, "But it is not the job of translators to fix or correct the content of the biblical text. So when it comes to the New Testament quotes of the Old Testament, we are constrained to translate what the New Testament author has given, even if it shows some discrepancy when compared to the original Old Testament passage. To do otherwise runs the risk of undoing something important that the New Testament authors wish to convey by the way they quote the Old Testament." And the reason this is really interesting is because if we don't have actual manuscript support of a particular reading, then translators either should not do it at all or be extremely careful and be as consistent as possible when you're going to insert words or phrases that are not actually in the Greek scriptures. And anyone knows who's familiar with the Greek scriptures is that out of all of our manuscripts, there's not one shred of evidence that the divine name is in any of these manuscripts. It's a known fact. Nonetheless, the New World Translation has chosen, though admittedly very carefully, to insert the divine name in the New Testament. But the problem is what Jason Badun points out, and it's risking doing something that the New Testament authors didn't wish to convey. So that's why you have to be really careful if you're going to insert words that are not in the Greek manuscript that you are translating from. And let me read from this publication, The Divine Name That Will Endure Forever. And it's on page 26. "Hence, in places where the Christian Greek scripture writers quote the earlier Hebrew scriptures, the translator has the right to render the word kurios, which is Lord, as Jehovah, wherever the divine name appears in the Hebrew original." Fair enough, and this would be one of those consistent standards. If you are going to seek to insert the divine name, you need to do so on a consistent basis if you're going to do it at all. Like I said, it's my opinion you shouldn't do it at all, but my issue here is with consistency. But what's really interesting about this to me is that they're just talking about, should the divine name be restored? Should our Bible translators restore the divine name in the New Testament? And they say that we should do that on the basis of whether or not we are quoting, or the New Testament authors are quoting from the Hebrew scriptures. But what's really interesting to me is that that's not the only times when the New World Translation inserts the divine name in the New Testament. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it's almost half of the instances of the 237 where they insert the divine name where there's no quotation from the Hebrew scriptures at all. And they do this on the basis of these 14th to 16th century Hebrew translations of the Greek Scriptures. And let me emphasize, Hebrew translations of the Greek Scriptures that are uninspired. Nonetheless, they use those as a guide to when the New Testament authors aren't quoting from the Hebrew Scriptures, yet they insert the divine name anyway.